So you get a new toy, you start playing with it, and then realize I should have been filming this when I decided to take it apart. Welcome back to the Jungle King 007 channel. Working on the second pressure washer today. As we can see, it's currently in pieces, and I'm actually in the process of bringing it downstairs so we can get a better look at it. But as we can see, I've got the head off. Parts in boxes. I actually have already bought new parts because I pulled this apart just to kind of see if it was going to be a small issue. Turned out it was going to be something a little bit bigger, but it was a simple fix. So let's go ahead and vacate this area, the garage, and bring it down to my basement where I can get it on a table and we can get a better look. So we got our pressure washer down in the basement on the table. Wanted to work down here this time because it's really hot outside, so it's comfortable and we can work a little bit quicker. So let's go with a little bit of a backstory. Bought this guy for about $40. Gentleman said it did run before the winter. So for $40, if he said it ran, threw it in the car, brought it home. Well, what do you do when you buy a new engine? Try to start it. So threw some gas in it, tried to start it up, absolutely nothing. Actually had no compression. When pulled the string, it was a really smooth pull compared to when you try to pull it and fights back every time it's on the compression stroke. Well, what we found when we pulled this off, and let's see if I can get close to the camera, what I found, and I've actually fixed it, is that the intake valve was stuck in the open position. It was like this, and I had to put a little bit of WD-40 and a light tap, and as you can see, now it works. So at this point, we are in the reassembly phase. Got to clean all these surfaces off. Got to basically put everything back on. We'll bring it right back upstairs and see if it'll run.
We're going to begin by cleaning off the mating surfaces. There are plenty of ways to do this. I chose a razor blade. If the old gas material had not come off as easily as it did, I would have switched to a Dremel with a brass wheel brush so as not to damage the surface. With the surfaces clean, we can do a quick fit of the new head gasket to make sure this is the correct one. Looked good, so the head can be reinstalled with the head bolts initially threaded down by hand. Here we perform the final torque of the head bolts. The torque spec on this particular motor is 210 inch-pounds. I stepped it up to the correct torque in 3 intervals. There is most likely a correct torque pattern somewhere online, but I could not find it. Being only 4 bolts, simply used a cross pattern to torque them down. The push rods and rockers are installed next. I ran the lock nuts down as far as I could, but left the rockers loose enough for the final adjustment. To perform the final adjustment, the crankshaft is spun until the pistons reach the top of its stroke, or top dead center, and neither valve is open, as you can see here. You will need a feeler gauge set for the valve adjustment. They are not too expensive at the local parts store. For this motor, the intake valve clearance as well as the exhaust valve clearance must be between 4 thousandths and 6 thousandths. I was shooting for the middle range of 5 thousandths. After adjusting, spin the crankshaft a couple times, find top dead center again, and check the clearances again. In my initial adjustment, something was way off, so the procedure needed to be performed again. Once the valves are properly adjusted, the valve cover can be installed. Check the gasket for any cracks or chunks missing that could cause leaks. Gasket on mine was fine, so I reused it. At this point, it's installation of everything else not needing adjustment. The exhaust manifold is next, along with the guard. Just a couple bolts held this in place. Carburetor goes on next. The old gaskets are removed and the gasket surface is cleaned off so we can use new gaskets from the kit. I did not rebuild the carburetor at this time. There was good fuel flow through the initial try on starting the motor, so I left it alone. Thought I was saving time by leaving the intake attached to the carburetor. Unfortunately, by doing this, I forgot there was not enough room to get to the 2 bolts that held the carb to the head. Luckily though, it was only 2 bolts holding this to the carb. Also went ahead and changed out the gasket between the intake and carburetor since I had it. Motor cover is next to go on, only 4 bolts hold this in place. Make sure the spark plug wire goes through the hole as shown, or you'll have trouble attaching the cover. Before installing the fuel tank, make sure the bolt for the dipstick tube is attached. After this bolt, we can install the tank and attach hose to the carburetor. Finishing touches to the motor are installation of the last couple covers, the spark plug, intake filter, and cover.
Alright, success! Motor is all back together. Now let's go ahead and put the water pump on.
I chose not to show the removal of the pump, frankly because it's 4 bolts and a simple tug, in most cases. Mine was a bit of a challenge in that the crankshaft had rusted right to the pump's hollow shaft. Had to literally pry the pump off, leaving the rusty shaft as you see here, that I am now cleaning off in preparation for the new pump. Before I install the new pump, I apply the liberal amount of silicone paste. This should help the pump slide onto the shaft much easier, as well as keep the rust issue from happening again. Actual installation of the pump is simply lining up the key on the crankshaft with the slot on the pump's hollow shaft and sliding it onto place, then tightening down the provided bolts. The pump I'm using here is another Anovi Reverberry pump disguised as a Sears part number 206376GS. I bought it off everyone's favorite website. I will post a link in the description so you can see where I got it.
So we got the motor back together, we got the water pump installed, there's the old one just compared to the new one. Interesting thing on this one, it looks like you can configure it however you want. I left it with everything coming out, looks like this is the left hand side, simply because of the soap hose where it would connect on the onto the pipe here. So this is how I'm going to install it. All it was simple, those 4 Allen key bolts. There's one there, and 2 on this side. At this point now, I'm going to bring it back upstairs to my garage. I'm going to do a quick oil change on it, and then we're going to hook it up to some water and give her a pull to see if she starts up.
These motors do have a drain bolt underneath, but because I'm not wanting to make too much of a mess and time is precious, I decided to break out my evacuator tool. I've been using this on my cars for the last couple years. It's been very helpful in making the oil change process quick and mostly clean, plus it keeps you from having to crawl on your back or lie on the floor to pull drain plugs.
little bit above. Let's pull a little bit out. I put too much in there. See if that brought enough out. We're just above the full. I'm gonna go with that. So we got her outside, got her hooked up to water. I'm gonna go ahead and purge the pump now. We go turn the water on and do that. Basically do that until we see water coming out that other hole. There we go. Mostly done. Now I'm going to hook up the hose and do the same thing. Just need to make sure there's not any air in this pump before we start it up. Alright, let's try it again. Alright, I'll call that done. We're going to test it on this shed. It needs it pretty bad, so let's see if she starts up. As we can see here, it looks much better than it did before. Previously, this thing was black. And it looks white now. I haven't done this side yet, so it probably looks a little bit mildewy and whatnot. So that should give you a good idea of how that repair did. I don't know why it's so satisfying getting a pressure washer to clean everything out. So thanks for watching. This is Jungle King 007. If you liked what you saw, feel free to subscribe. Take care. Have a great day. Currently working on editing, but I wanted to show you something real quick I noticed after doing this little segment here. This is where the pressure washer was sitting. As you can see, it actually killed the grass. I don't know what happened here. Maybe it's the heat, maybe a vibration. I'm not sure what to make of this, but if anybody knows what's going on here, I'd love to know. Obviously, I'm going to try to maybe put something underneath it from now on just to make sure this doesn't happen again, because I don't want my grass dying. I also want to show you something real quick. Walking up here in the front, it did the same thing. I was actually, after I did the shed, I brought it up to the front and washed all my cars. And as you can see, this one's a little bit bigger. So I'm not sure what happened to this grass. Maybe next practice will be to leave it on the concrete. I mean, I'm actually going to this time just to make sure this doesn't happen. Interesting thing though is with the other one that I did my back porch and it sat there for a good couple hours running, and this didn't happen. So I don't know if this was something with that particular pressure washer. Maybe it was something coming off of the pump when it heated up. Maybe it was, again, saying it's heat, maybe vibrations, I don't know. But just forewarning, if you are using a pressure washer, you might see this happen. Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, feel free to subscribe. I'm going to do more videos of engine repair and just anything I do around the house and whatnot. So take care, guys. Have a great day.